Hey guys, my name is Matimeo, and today I wanted to take a look at the K10 submachine gun in Battlefield Hardline. As I'm sure many of you are already aware, this gun is ridiculous right now, and what I wanted to discuss in today's video is figuring out if this thing is overpowered. There are some interesting choices to use for the mechanic class. There is the P90, you have the MPX, there are some cool weapons, but I'm finding more and more that a lot of people that are playing as this particular class are gravitating over towards the K10 simply because it is amazing and it has just a ridiculous amount of killing potential. And so really just to kind of jump into things, one of the best qualities about this weapon is that it has a rounds per minute of 1,200. I want to go on a limb and say that that is the fastest RPM weapon that we have seen in the Battlefield franchise for a very long time, or at least in recent memory. I can go all the way back to Bad Company 2 and know for a fact that there hasn't been a gun that has had this high of a rounds per minute. That being said though, a high RPM doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be amazing. If it only spits out pebbles, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage with each one of those rounds, it's not going to be blatantly overpowered. But what makes the K10 simply phenomenal is that within 10 meters, you are going to be doing 34 damage per round. You only need 3 bullets to kill someone in those circumstances, and you have a rounds per minute of 1,200? You die instantly. If you're using an assault rifle, even arguably, even if you're using any other weapon in the game except for maybe a shotgun and a lucky bolt action rifle shot, you are never going to come out of firefight alive if you go against someone who is using this particular weapon. This is the very reason why the K10 is as amazing as it is, because I don't think there has ever been a weapon in Battlefield history that has done this amount of damage with an automatic weapon in close encounter combat, or really at any situation. This is the very reason why the K10 is arguably overpowered. It does come with some drawbacks though, and one of the biggest ones is that its damage drops off significantly. If your enemy is only 30 meters away, your K10 is only going to do 12 damage per bullet. That essentially equates to needing 8 rounds to take someone out at those distances from 100% to 0. So within 10 meters, you're a god. You can drop someone almost immediately, only requiring 3 bullets, but then only 20 meters further than that, it's gonna require 8. Like that's a huge difference. On top of that, you only get 26 rounds in your magazine to work with. If this was a Scar H with a very slow RPM around like 600, that would be amazing, but because you have more than double than that, you have 1,200 at your disposal, if you hold down the trigger for half a second, you're gonna go through your entire magazine. It basically requires you to be very conservative with your ammo. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten into a firefight with one player. I went through all of my rounds because I had an abysmal accuracy. I was able to take him out, but then another enemy rounds the corner. I'm left floundering, going through a reload animation. I immediately have to switch on over to my pistol. He was using a primary, I'm using a secondary. I'm completely outclassed, and so of course I'm gonna be down on the ground having a nice little nap. That happens a lot when you're using the K10 if you're not consistent or accurate with your shots and being conservative with your ammunition. That being said though, if you are on your game, and you may notice a few times in today's video that you can take out 2, 3, 4 people no problem without having to reload, because I was able to get close to the enemy, I was using the strengths of the weapon appropriately and dropping those 3 or 4 people almost instantly. It's glorious, and once again, it's one of the main reasons why I'm leaning towards this thing maybe being on the overpowered category. One thing that I do love about the weapon though is the way that they've gone about its reload times. It's short reload, or if you have a bullet in the chamber, it's going to take you 1.5 seconds to go through the reload animation. That is blazing fast. Like, I think that is one of the fastest reload animations out of basically every weapon in Battlefield Hardline. Like, that is really quick, but if you've gone through all of your rounds, which is very easy to do with that 1,200 rounds per minute, it's gonna take you 2.23 seconds. And so what I love about this system is that it basically rewards you for playing smart or having some skill and recognizing when you should be reloading. If you just hold down the trigger and go through all of your rounds, you're basically going to be punished. You're going to have to go through a 1 second longer reload animation. But if you're smart about it and you're watching your ammo count, you can go through one of the fastest reloads in the game. I love that type of dynamic. I love how it rewards you for playing smart, it rewards you for having some skill in there, and the K10 has that in spades. grenades. But the last stat that we're going to be taking a look at today is that it does have a lot of horizontal recoil. Its vertical is fairly manageable. Its vertical only comes in at 0.22, but its left kick is a staggering 0.45, and its right kick is also 0.45. This just basically solidifies the fact that you should not be using the K10 at a distance. If you see someone 20-30 meters away, not only are you going to have to deal with a reduced damage model, but you're also going to have a hard time even lining up your shot because of this significant amount of recoil. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't or shouldn't take someone out at a distance, but it is one of the main weaknesses that you're going to have to work around when you are using the K10. But overall, just looking at the stats itself, it looks like Visceral did a good job of balancing out this weapon. You only get 26 rounds to work with, its damage drops off significantly, you have to work around the reload time, making sure that you always have a bullet in the chamber before you go through the reload animation, and it also has just a significant amount of recoil. But I still don't know if that is enough for the fact that it has such a crazy high damage output in close encounter combat. I think my biggest issue with it right now is that if you do come across anyone who is using this particular weapon, it's basically an I win within 10 meters. You look at all the other mechanic weapons and they don't feel as ridiculous as this gun in those circumstances. You still have an advantage, and I still think that the mechanic should always have an advantage in close encounter combat compared to all of the other classes. Maybe not an enforcer who's using a shotgun, but you guys know what I mean. But the K10 just seems to push it a little bit too far over the edge. And so I'd like to get your guys' take on this. Do you think that anything needs to be done to reel in the power of this submachine gun, or do you think it's well balanced in its current state, and maybe the other weapons for the mechanic should be increased in their effectiveness? That could be another way that they approach it. Personally, I would like it to where maybe it doesn't do quite as much damage. Maybe instead of doing 34 damage per round, they drop it to 28 or 25, where it still is going to drop you insanely fast because of that 1200 rounds per minute, but instead of the ludicrous 3 rounds, it will require 4 bullets to take someone out in those close encounter circumstances. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's little review of the K10. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your favorite gun is for the mechanic class. Is it this particular submachine gun? Do you fancy using the P90 or the MPX? Let me know down below. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.